Hello everyone and welcome back to this next lecture. So in the previous lecture we had examined how we are going to use Remix IDE in this course. So in this lecture I'm going to have a quick look, I'm going to show you a quick look around at this Remix IDE and how you can access it. So as I said, Remix IDE is accessible through your web browser. So you do not have to make any installations on your local computer, which makes it very easy because now we can focus only on smart contracts in this particular course rather than have to install things on our own computer and set things up. So therefore, open up any web browser, but I would recommend Google Chrome. And let's go and look here for Remix IDE. So Remix IDE actually is available in several different ones, but I would not recommend to use all of them. The one which I most trust is the very first one, which is remix.ethereum.org. So I'm going to open this in a new tab. And the most important is always make sure that you are at this particular link, that is remix.ethereum.org, right? And there are several such fake websites. So again, be a little careful whenever you launch it so that at least you know what it is, and also ensure that this is a secure connection, right? So therefore, if you ever have any doubt about this, or your your browser gives you some kind of an alert, please do listen to that alert because there are quite a lot of scams. So as you can see, this Remix IDE resembles any real IDE. When I say IDE, it means Integrated Development Environment. So an Integrated Development Environment provides a code editor as well as an interface for executing your code, right? Because usually otherwise, if you just have a code editor, then you need a separate program to be able to execute your code, which means you have multiple programs. An integrated development environment brings them all together so that now you do not have to leave your code editor in order to execute your code. So on the left hand side, you will see the file explorer. These are where we are going to actually write our contract. So for example, there are some directories which have already been created. Now Remix also comes with JavaScript and several other things. We are not going to be using it in this course, right? I'm going to use only the contracts. So you will see there are a few basic contracts already written here. We'll look into that very soon. On the left hand side, you will see there are some more tabs. So for example, you will see here, if I click, this will just collapse the file explorer. The second one is a search, if you want to search through all your files, right? And this is sometimes okay because when you have a lot of contracts and you want to search for a particular variable or a particular method, then this particular search is pretty good because now you can search for it, for multiple occurrences of it in all your contracts. The next one is the Solidity compiler, right? So this Solidity compiler, it allows you to choose which version of Solidity you want to use, right? And this is important because if you remember in the previous, when we were looking into the Open Zeppelin contract, the Open Zeppelin contracts also specified a minimum level of Solidity version. So therefore, we must ensure that the version of Solidity compiler should be at least equal to or greater than the version specified in the contracts that we are trying to use, right? Now, once we actually start writing our contracts, you can then use this button to compile it and make sure that the contract doesn't have any errors. Now, the next one is where we actually start interacting with it. So for example, here you will see that this is a virtual machine and there are several different virtual machines. You can also connect it to your wallet or even to an external server. We are not going to use any of those. Like I said, we want the simplest method, which is basically a sandbox where we can run everything within the IDE itself with test ether. After this, we don't have to change this. I will never be changing this in this course. After this comes all the accounts. So now these are all the accounts which are there. And you see there are a number of different accounts. There are close to 15 accounts and each account has 100 ether, right? So these again are all fake accounts. Again, do not make the mistake of transferring any real funds to this. These are all fake accounts. Their private keys are known publicly. If you transfer any real money there, the money will be gone in instants because the private keys are available and somebody will drain it before you even know what's happening. So therefore, do not use any real funds in this course, and especially in conjunction with these accounts. These are test accounts with test ether. But the good part is we have now many different accounts that we can play around with. Now, here comes some other configurations as to how much should be the gas limit. In most cases, it will estimate the gas required for every transaction. And I would leave it at that because in this course, we don't want to look into gas optimization and things like that. That is more of an advanced concept. This value here is the amount of funds that you want to transfer whenever you are either interacting with a method of a contract or you want to transfer it to the contract itself. Right? Now here, of course, you will see there are no contracts because nothing has been compiled so far. But once we start compiling contracts, those contracts will appear here, which means you can select the contract and you can then deploy it. Once you deploy the contract, you will see that the contracts appear here. So these are the deployed contracts. Again, all this is a test system. So you do not have to worry that you are actually interacting with real money or you're transferring real money. The entire system is a sandbox. So again, all this is for your convenience. Now here you will see that there is an AI assistant. I don't really use this AI in this course, so I'm going to close this down. Here you'll see that there is some documentation and you're welcome to read the documentation as well as go on the website. So the documentation is actually quite useful. I would say check it out once. It tells you how you can use it and so on and so forth. Some of the stuff we'll be learning just as we go on this course. But if you would like to check it out before, go ahead and check out all the stuff you can do with this Remix IDE. So this is the start page, which will always appear when you open it. I'm going to close it. And now we can start looking at what is available. So like I said, there are 3 contracts which have been provided. Again, we'll just be deleting them very soon because we'll be writing our own. But take a look at what this is. And I'll just collapse this so that we can see it a little easier. So you see here again, there is the usual license identifier. Now this has been licensed as GPL, which is the general public, the license. I will not be using GPL, I'll be using MIT. MIT is usually a much less restrictive license, open source license. This is the Pragma Solidity, and you can see here the version that they have used. They are saying it should be greater than 0.8.2 and it should be less than 0.9.0, right? So we are using in this one, the version of Solidity compiler lies between this range. So therefore, this is perfectly okay. And you can come over here, you'll see there is a contract storage. We are declaring a number, which is UN256. We are then storing, we have a number function, which is public, which takes an argument number and assigns it to this particular number, right? And we have a function retrieve, which basically returns this number. And it's a view function that returns a UN256. Again, an extremely important, extremely basic contract. Actually, it's almost completely useless. There's nothing we can do with this. It is just for your convenience so that you can just get started with playing around with the Remix IDE. So go ahead, have a look at some of these. So let's look at owner, and you'll see that they have an owner account as well, right? So we are going to delete these and start writing our own contracts very soon. But the most important thing is open this up, check out all these links, make sure you have all these links in exactly the same manner as I have, because as time goes on, some of these buttons can change. In some cases, I might remake some of these videos in case there is a great amount of change and the change is actually not very easy to follow. But otherwise, go ahead, open this website in either Google Chrome or any other web browser of your choice and go through this website and make sure you're comfortable. In the next lecture, we are going to start deleting all these contracts and writing our own contracts. If any of this was not clear to you, please post in the Q&A forum and I'll be happy to help you. Otherwise, I will see you in the next lecture. Thank you so much for listening and see you soon. Goodbye for now.